Okay, so I want to share my experiences and my perspective or whatever on reality and spirituality and all that, and what I've constructed over the years, how I see it. And I think these are spiritual truths that have been hidden and have been revealed to me and other people as well. But this is the way that I explain it. So basically, if you think about it, like you hear this, you hear like how people believe life is a simulation, reality is a simulation. And if you look at a dream, it's like basically a simulation. It's going on in the mind at night. And, like row your boat gently down the stream. Nothing but a dream, yada, yada. And if you think about it, a lot of these people try to get you to think that it's a computer simulation, like a technological thing. You're in a computer like the Matrix, and I think they do that because that seems more hopeless. If you're stuck in a computer, you seem like it's hopeless. Like you can't do anything about it. You have to hope someone from outside of the computer comes to save you. When really, if it's a dream, then it's really, you do have power and you can control it, control things. Not control the whole dream. Let me get into that, but you can influence it and you have power. And I think that's the meaning, the true meaning, maybe not intentionally so, but behind like the Matrix, like the batteries in the Matrix movies, how they create reality. If you think about it, in real life, if it's like a dream, basically people are the batteries of the Matrix creating reality or the dream. But instead of biological energy like in the movie, it's more of creator energy. Or God, that's what predictive programming, in my opinion, is. It's more like God programming, and we're all collectively a part of God, the body of Christ, and all that. And you can look at that as like pixels on a screen, on a TV, creating the image of reality that we all share, based on our beliefs and perspectives and all that. And you can also look at it as neurons in the mind of God or whatever. And I think my theory is that long ago, and even Hinduism talks about this, like how, all is Leela, they call it Leela, or the play of God, divine play, basically God's dream, and you can look into that. I'm not going to get into all that right now, but basically, I think long ago, the ancient elite, you could say, knew of this, and probably everybody knew about it, but you have to realize, like, you can just imagine it. Back then, like, you have everybody knows this truth, and they create reality. Maybe that's how the pyramids were made, who knows? That's all speculative, but you had like this understanding and belief, like, and everybody was lucid and had a shared democratic, basically everybody democratically, you could say, created reality by majority rule. Maybe that's why magic existed back then. Maybe it did exist, but people's belief in it, or disbelief in modern times, has made it not exist. Basically, like if you just didn't believe something in your dream at night, it wouldn't happen in your dream at night until you believed. And then you look at the Bible, it's all about faith. Faith that the mustard seed can move a mountain and all that. But anyway, I think people in ancient times knew about that, and then a group of corrupt people. This is all theoretical and speculative, but I think that they probably said, hey, we want to hoard this and make the dream our dream. And they basically erased history and enslaved everybody else through corruption and deceit and yada yada, and we're just overpowering them with their armies and stuff. And then you can literally do it back in those days, especially if everything was orally passed down and not written down, because perhaps people did live for like I heard someone explain this, like people lived 800 to 1,000 years or whatever back in like biblical times. Like it would make sense why you would just like pass it down orally, like through spoken tradition rather than writing it, because he explained it better, but it makes sense more than like if you lived only 100 years or 50 years or whatever, you would have to write it down to make sure. He explained it well, but I'm not getting into that. I wish I had that video, but we'll not get into that. But anyway, you can see pretty easily, if you imagine it, how it would be easy to erase history in like one generation, enslave people, and then wipe out the old people who have the oral tradition or whatever, and then just rewrite, then just write history down, make it all written. And then you can edit history, and change it. And we kind of have already seen that in the modern era, like, how history can be tampered with. And basically, though, I believe that they did that, and that's where basically we've gone, is like you have these people who, and they call them the 13 families. I don't know about all of that, but maybe. But they basically have held on to that knowledge and wisdom And that's what a lot of these mystery schools, or not even mystery schools probably, because some of those were, I don't know, maybe they were. A lot of these like occult groups or whatever, secret societies at the top of them do. And basically, in my opinion, a way to describe like Christ or Krishna or Kalki or King Arthur, these figures that are like Messiah figures, would be like the dreamer of the dream. So if this is like all a shared dream, we're all like neurons in the mind of God, we can create and influence the dream, but then the dreamer can also enter it and say, hey, no, I'm going to put this back into balance. And you can think about that in your own dream, because we're made in the image of God, so you can study yourself to really learn. You don't need books and all and scientists and all this. You can just study yourself, dude. Like really, and that's what they want you to do, is like outsource your knowledge, like have a middleman to everything. Middleman being the church or the priest or the scientist. You can go within and learn all this, dude. Be still and know that I'm God. Like meditate. Go inside the temple of the body. But basically, what I was gonna say is lost my train of thought. But oh yeah, the dream. So basically, in the dream, you don't consciously create, like if this is a dream behind me here, like at night, like you're just dreaming this, you wouldn't consciously create the fence and the plant and the chair and the sky. All of that's just unconsciously or subconsciously created automatically, you know, by the dream field itself. And then you enter the dream, you know, and you can become lucid and say, I want to fly, and fly up in the air, or you can, you know, do things, like direct things in the dream. But usually you can't, or at least in my experience, you can't control the unconscious dream character. Like if there's a guy back here, I couldn't say, hey, I'm going to imagine him doing this. He may look at you and say, you know, a lot of people actually say that they've had this experience where they try to control the dream characters when they're lucid, and they like react aggressively or ignore them or straight up reject them and say no or whatever. But they can control like the other things, certain other things. But at the end of the day, a lot of the dream, just like your bodily processes while you're awake, are unconsciously controlled and operated. And you know, so there is, that's basically a lot of people, basically. Like a lot of us are, basically all of us perhaps are like dreamers, or not dreamers, but are a part of the dream that create, but we're not the dreamer, like the Christ, the King Arthur, the Kalki or Krishna. And I think a lot of these elite people, these secret societies think, oh yeah, we're controlling reality. There is no, I think they have a twist. I think basically my view of Satan, what he is basically, is like, is Carl Jung's archetype of the shadow self, but the irredeemable parts that are like, because you integrate the shadow, yes, but there's parts of that shadow that are like the psychopath that you can't integrate really, that wants you to just control and dominate and have slaves and stuff. How can you integrate that? And an example is like, if you want to look at the shadow self, the integratable parts, you can look at examples in media like Asta and Libe and Black Clover, Goku with the Uzaru, you know, when he goes Super Saiyan 4 or whatever, Naruto and Kurama, those can all represent like integrating your shadow. And there's multiple other examples in anime and stuff like that. But also, there's parts of the shadow that you can't integrate, it's just irredeemable, like the Frieza, you know, I forgot what his name is in Black Clover, but like the demon guys who just want to destroy everything. There's some people who just don't want to change. Or like, I've been watching Yu Yu Hakusho, like Hiei and Kurama could be like integrated shadows, like demons, you know, literally, who have been, you know, integrated for a higher cause and literally work with God, basically, you know, Koenma. But then you have like Sensui and you have these guys who are like, just, you know, Toguro, which he kind of was more redeemable than most, but he just was ignorant, in my opinion. But you have some people who are just straight up psychopaths and evil, you know, Sakio or whatever. They just want to destroy the world and just destruction. And I think a lot of these elite or secret societies have been offered power and wisdom and knowledge, and you're special. It's up to you. You're the brain of society. I think they listened to all this stuff and it fed their ego, and they just took the hook, line, and sinker, basically, thinking. And they would say that, oh, we're doing the right thing. We've been given this position by God, but their God is Satan, the shadow self. So basically, you can look at the dream or this reality from a Jungian perspective. If you look at it like a dream, all internal, which makes sense in a way anyway, from a scientific or biological point of view, because all of this is just processed in your mind internally through your senses, which take in data and then mold this dream, your experience of reality. That's where you have some people are colorblind and some people are schizophrenic. They have different experiences of reality than you. So it's all processed in your mind anyway. But so the shadow self, Satan, that's the same thing. Satan in the Bible is basically, in my perspective, basically the irredeemable aspects of the shadow self. That psychopath, chaotic, just wants destruction, like in Seven Deadly Sins, King Arthur, for instance. Literally, like if you look, that's a good example. Like King Arthur, he has that little cat that turns into chaos. It's basically King Arthur versus chaos. Chaos tries to possess his body, and that's like the shadow self, just wanting destruction and chaos. Like that's its goal. And then so the dreamer has to become lucid and take care of bringing order to the dream, like Kalki in Hinduism or Krishna, bringing order to the dream and balance. And just like even in your own dreams, if you like are in your dream at night and there's a monster just terrorizing everybody in your dream, and then you become lucid, you're like, okay, let me bring balance to this dream and not make it a freaking nightmare. And that's what it's like, bro. It's like if you imagine everything as a dream, imagine this all in your own dream, like basically. Imagine you're dreaming all this at night, like this is all in a dream, and you have like in your dream you have the elite Illuminati yada yada families who are secret societies who run the dream society, and you see them doing monstrous things and enslaving people and wars and all sorts of things, Epstein Island, and you're like, nah, I don't like that. Then you become lucid, and you basically start fixing things, and then these dream characters, the bad guys in your dream who are ruled by the shadow self or Satan within your dream, turn and look at you and say, this is our dream. We control this dream. And that's like the unconscious mind, like I said, that creates all this stuff. Like, yeah, they have some influence in creating the dream, but then you overpower them because you're the totality of the dream. Like, you could say Christ in the Bible is basically the dreamer. He's the totality of all things in a finite form. It's like in your own dream, like it's all, when you go into your dream, it's like all of this is like just going inside of your brain, like it's a totality of all of it. Like you are the infinite, that's where the Alpha and Omega and all that comes in and all that, in my opinion. And the temple and all that. But anyway, so they would look at you in your dream, once you start like fixing things, they'd look at you and think maybe if they're deceived, the people anyway, by the shadow self, they'd say, he's a demon, he's ruining our work of God that God's put us to. Why is the prophecy being da-da-da? We were told, and then they would start going to war with you and yada yada. But you would overcome them in your dream, because as long as you have faith and everything, and just like in your own dream, once you know that the monster is just a figment of your imagination and doesn't have any power over you, it's like it doesn't work, bro. And same thing with a lot of magic and voodoo and all that. It doesn't work on people who don't like believe in that crap or who aren't afraid of it. So, that's what I wanted to say on that. I don't know how long I can make this video, so I'm gonna wrap it up pretty quick. Yeah. So I want to add this at the end too. I thought it'd be necessary. But in the Bible, it talks about the temple. The temple's the body. The man of lawlessness is your beastly nature within you. And when he ascends the temple and declares himself as God, it's representing your beastly nature instead of your sovereign awareness and spirit leading. And 666, because carbon-12, which is the building block of all living matter or flesh in the universe, has 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. And why it's on your right hand and forehead is because the right hand represents dominant actions, the dominant hand of the majority of people, and the hand representing action. The forehead, the floor of your thoughts, meaning the majority, the dominant thoughts that you carry are basically beastly. And why can't you buy or sell, you may ask? Because look at the world around you. Who can truly buy and especially sell? Who are the big sellers? It's the people who push a lot of smut and beastly nature. All this stuff literally appeals to your beastly nature. OnlyFans, yada yada. Every time you turn on the TV, it's something about something degenerate, it seems like. And the big buyers and sellers are the ones who are pushing smut, basically, and filth, dude. Like, so, that's how I read all that. And plus the temple, even like in the Old Testament, like the temple in Jerusalem, they're trying to rebuild. That's all symbolic in my opinion. The temple is rebuilding your body, getting rid of all the defilement and filth on the temple. The animal sacrifice is sacrificing your beastly animalistic nature and urges. That's what that is. like the 7 deadly sins, sacrificing those up. It's all symbolic in my opinion. Like, to be honest, it's all. If you look at that within, it makes sense.